So, welcome to this discussion on rise of robotics and drones in the post-COVID world. Now, as you know, robots and drones can work in hazardous environments. Now, hazard is everywhere. It will be increasingly used in hospitality, healthcare, retail, BFSI, and so on. Cobots are another important area. They will be key in a no-touch world. Now, I would like to ask, first of all, I would like all the panelists, I would like to ask one thing, and I would like to know their views on it. So basically, if you see, like we have been struck with the COVID pandemic, but a great technological change is taking place due to that. We are entering an era of no touch and social distancing. And here, robots and drones will be very handy, right? So they could transform society and they could help us with the problems we face. And not only this, they could help if we adopt a protocol, then it could help in earthquakes, in floods and all that. So I would like to know from the panelists, are we, due to COVID, are we actually going to see a great exponential growth? Are we going to see technological innovations coming out? And also, what are the sectors do you think will benefit, with a few examples, and what kind of technological breakthroughs we can expect? So for this, I'd like to ask our first analyst, Rajeev Karwal, chairman of Milagrow Robots. So Rajeev, if you could just answer that question.
You see, basically, it is unfortunate but true that it has taken a pandemic to fast forward the future for this industry. Especially in a country like India. I still remember the 4 years ago or 5 years ago when we used to go to any industry association or any government department. They would always say, don't talk about robots because it is going to give a message that the government is anti-labor, or jobs will go and things like that. In the residential sector, initially our response, because we entered in 2011, it was quite good, but then the demonetization happened, and then suddenly cash finished, because this was a discretionary item, and GST, we were put in the 28% category. The top line fell by almost about 60 to 70%, in those 2 years. And then residential sector went down, and now again, both these sectors, B2B as well as B2C, are up. Let's talk about the residential sector first. When this lockdown actually happened, and suddenly, also news came that the senior citizens are especially, vulnerable, and domestic servants are not allowed, and also it is the kith and kin and the domestic servants who are the biggest carriers of this infectious disease, which can affect the other people in the home. So people became very, very careful. Also, what happened was that all researches indicated that when people were in the lockdown situation, what was the most important task which people felt is there in their homes today? It was cleaning, right at the very top. And what is the task which nobody wants to do at home? It is cleaning. So, so suddenly, you saw an explosion of demand for the floor cleaning robots, especially. Also, it had little bit of impact on the window cleaning robots, which we are in. Also the lawn mowing robots, or the pool cleaning robots, etc. But that was slightly limited. So what we have seen is that we ourselves have grown by about 400 to 500% in the last about 4 or 5 months on the residential sector. And on the B2B sector, what we have actually seen, and what came in very early, is that when the lockdown actually was announced, within a few days of that, we started to get calls from the hospitals, where the healthcare workers as well as the doctors were quite fearful in terms of limited numbers, and also getting infected, and reports from massive infections of the doctors and the healthcare workers were coming from all over the world. and we actually kind of modified our humanoids, which were actually made for the hospitality industry, to ensure that the doctor can, talk with the face showing on a robot's body or the robot's face to the patient. So it was social distancing for the doctors. These humanoids could actually also prevent, or prevent the need of the healthcare worker going in time and again, and the robot could be operated, and the robot could be taken to a patient, and they could talk, and the robot could also do the surveillance. Our floor cleaning robots were modified to take the sodium hypochlorite 1% solution to make sure that the floor is cleaned up in a proper way, and time and again the sanitation worker doesn't have to go in. So healthcare industry was the first one to take off, post the pandemic. And what we have seen now is that the facility management industry, all these bigger companies like JLL, Sodexo, Cushman Wakefield, CBRE, all these guys are supposed to maintain the facilities of these big corporates, and now they are facing shortage of manpower. They also have, a situation of cost cutting, which is on their head. And robots are the most, efficient way to manage the property in a good way, as well as, cut costs. Same thing which we are seeing now in the hospitality industry, in the timeshare industry, where with lesser number of tourists, the properties still have to be maintained. How do you maintain, a property with limited, people? So a swimming pool robot will cut 70 or 80% of the manpower required to, clean the pool, or the lawn 70 to 80%. Floor robots will cut down about 30 to 40% in terms of the housekeeping staff. Oh, and also it will make sure that the property is maintained in a proper way. So I believe, and I'm basically talking about the service robots primarily. That this industry is in for a massive incline for the next couple of decades, and you will see more and more different types of robots which will come in, and so also on the industrial side, one can talk a bit about that also. uh, Irrespective of whatever policies exist, from the regulatory space, one has to admit now that corporates who have had an opportunity to kind of restructure their businesses would go in for robots in a big way, whether it is from assembly perspective or whether it is from supply chain perspective, because it makes their businesses less vulnerable. And also now that the capital expansion costs have also come down, with the interest rates almost at an all-time low. Once the business starts to look up, this kind of interest is, possible to kind of bear for these organizations. So you will also see on the industrial side, logistics side, a very big adoption of these robots. That is my two bits on this entire question which you asked.
Okay. Thank you, Rajiv. So I hope if it gives a flip to industries, we may finally have 4.0.
Yes,
So that
yes.
would be great.
Sure. So thank you, Sunil, and hello to Balaji.
Hi, Balaji. So you can. So, so the topic of the talk is rise of robots and drones in the post-COVID world. Robots and drones can work in hazardous environments. Now hazard is everywhere. It will be increasingly used in hospitality, healthcare, retail, BFSI, and so on. Cobots are another important area. They will be key in a no-touch world. Now, like we are in the midst of a COVID crisis, right? So the COVID crisis, pandemic, lockdown, it is leading to a change in lifestyle, that is no touch and social distancing, and hence a change in technology, and also a change in the way we are doing business. And because of the necessity of social distancing and maybe future disasters, robots and drones is really going to go big. So I wanted to know your views on, I mean, are we really heading for a growth period? What are the technological innovations we are trying to expect? And what are the sectors and certain areas which do you think will benefit? So just now, Rajiv, he talked about, how it will help the cleaning industry because no one else wants to do cleaning, how it will help the industries. So, uh, Balaji Vishwanathan, founder and CEO of Invento Robotics, I'd like to know your views on the same. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me in this session. It pretty crazy. Was the last 7, 8 months have been for the entire one year, for what reason. So about 6 months ago, we drafted a plan that is the pre-COVID, during COVID, and post-COVID plan. So first week of March, we drafted one. So the during COVID is a time that is like sort of gone. So people have either accepted the reality, or in many countries they have been able to control and move past it. So we are in the post-COVID reality. The post-COVID reality, many of the things that continued from the pre-COVID, it is just being an accelerated form. So we are now seeing a huge demand for our Mitra robot for doing a range of engagement in hospitality and retail, especially. For instance, in hospitality, we are doing pilots with one of the largest hotel chains in the world, where the robots will be, for the first time in the world, they'll be taking a full concierge responsibility. So they'll be doing like things like a screening for the patient, screening for the guests who are coming in, like knowing the temperature right away, and discreetly being able to inform the duty manager about this thing, and also ask about where they have visited recently and so on. But more importantly, it can help them do things like booking a cab and guiding them on to nearest attractions, helping them with the kind of food options available in the restaurant, helping book a spa appointment, and then also guiding what all safety precautions have been taken for COVID. So all of this in a conversational one. So for the guests, it becomes a much more easy way to get their questions clarified. It's a multilingual robot. So unlike humans who have to be trained, these can right out of the bat talk in 30 languages. So you have the ability to do multilingual capability, and then also be able to remember and keep training on it. So while human employees have to be rapidly be trained in these changing environments, this requires one training, and then you can apply the same thing across other robots. So to be able to engage with guests and be able to answer many of the questions in the pre-COVID world, although some of the technologies were relatively mature, the guest would still prefer a human because it is our natural go-to place. But now people are far more open to using this technology. So although the quality of our NLP was 90% the same like what it was 6 months ago, but the guests and shoppers and the end users are far more open to engaging with robots. And once they have the first 2-3 engagement, they get and they get quite a surprising and fascinating experience. They get to stick on and come back. And when they keep coming back, it becomes a spiral where it's such a virtuous cycle. The more they come in, the more the robot learns, and the more the robot learns, the more it can tailor its responses to their thing. Like probably it might know that you are a vegetarian, or you like South Indian food, or you like your food spicy, or your favorite meal is this variant of podi dosa, and so on. Let's say it learns that, then that it can provide a superior experience across that hotel chain wherever you are. So that's sort of a very sort of a merging of the AI and robotics. Is what we are seeing as a huge uptake for Mitra in this post-COVID world.
Thank you for those views, Balaji. Let's hope that robots can indeed become our friends and help us out.
Absolutely.
So, Balaji, where are you based out of?
We are a Bangalore-based company.